Hi everyone, it's Kara and I am back to try and assemble the parts with you guys on camera of this little button doll. The first thing I typically do is the legs, and I need to also mention that you have to find a flat button. It needs to be flat on both sides, as you can hopefully see this one is, and be about the same size as the base of the button doll body, because it's going to help hold these little legs in place with the hot glue. Now, like I've said before, I do not enjoy working with hot glue, so I'm going to attempt to do this on camera, but I'm working around a tripod, and I've already, got the huge klutzy issue with this hot glue gun, so we're going to see how this is going to go. But basically, as you can see, this is the little body. I figure out about how long I want the legs to be, keep them about the same length, and then I put them up there with the dental floss across the bottom. Let's see if I can show you this, of the button doll body, like that. And then I'm going to put some glue, hot glue, on there and use that button to kind of help hold them in place. I'm going to have to try and get a better hold of them to do that. And basically you can see I don't leave much length on there because I don't want a lot sticking out. And I try and do it on either side of the button doll face so that the legs are kind of placed where I would like them to be. And I want to make sure that they're about the same length when I do this, because you don't want your button doll to look funny after you glue them and have one leg that's a lot longer than the other or something like that. And I try and tuck the little edges in, or you could cut them off if you want, but every once in a while I have to redo this over and I might want those little extra edges. So I think that's about right. So this is the tricky part to try and do on camera, but basically I need to get the hot glue on here and then get the button on. So I think I'm going to probably do this just a little bit over to the side because I can reach everything a little bit better. So let's hang on 1 second and see if I can do this and then show you guys what it looks like. Okay? And I swear it's really not as hard as I'm making it out to be, but I'm just hot glue gun challenged, and if there was another way I could do this, I would, but I need how quickly the hot glue sets up. I need it to be relatively quick when I do this, and that's the problem. I tried doing this with Glossy Accent and it just takes too long to adhere, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. Okay, so let's see if I can get this on here. Grab that button. So there's the button doll legs, and you can see I've got a little bit of that floss sticking up there, but basically that button helps keep the legs in place. And I think I'm going to probably try and just cut that little piece off. It's not a big deal if it were even to stay there, because this part's obviously going to be underneath the dress. It's not like it's going to be really visible, but I wanted it to be as nice as possible. And then you can see that it'll still sit up because I picked a nice flat button. And there's the legs. Now the arms are a little bit different because I like them to tie around. And so basically what I do is I do the legs next. I'm sorry, the arms next. Let me set this guy down. And I leave these, as you can see, a little bit longer because I'm going to have to go around the head like this and just tie a little knot. Which of course, again, is not going to be easy since I'm trying to do this on camera, and for some reason today I'm having an issue with that. And I don't leave a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, I don't leave a lot of wiggle room for the arms. I don't want them to dangle too much. I like them to be higher and kind of stick out, and I'm going to have to pull this back over here to tie this. Okay, and you can see that I'm back with both of the arms tied on and a little bit of an extra dental floss on here. So I'm going to just go around and cut all this off. The dress is going to hide this again, so it's not going to be visible, but I do cut it down pretty close to the knot. And then I'm also going to take right where those knots are at, I'm going to move them around and take a teeny bit of hot glue. And of course you could use glossy accents here if you didn't mind waiting, but because I'm doing the video I wanted to get it going a little quicker than that. Okay. And I was smarter this time, you guys. I bought a low temperature one so this wouldn't hurt me so badly. Okay, so there's the arms and legs, and trust me, this will look better when it's dressed and ready to go. And that's actually what comes next, is the little dress. You can see that I still have that running stitch. And the first thing I always kind of do is, just before I tie it on, is make sure that I like the length of it. It's, you know, is it fluffy enough in case I want to recut it or do anything like that. And the dress is actually going to go under the arms. You can see that. Because eventually I'm going to come back in with a little lacy piece like I did here, and that's going to go on top. Okay? So, let me just see, do I like that? Oh, I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to go in the back here again. Hopefully this one will cooperate a little bit better, and tie a little bit of a knot. Again, just a simple double knot. So that the fabric matches up. And there's that. I'm going to trim it down again. And again, I'll put a little teeny dab of glue there. And I'm also going to put a little dab of glue like right about here to hold the dress in place in the back. Not a really big one, just a little one. So let me first do that in there. There we go. And fold that down. So that's the piece that's going underneath. Hold it there for a minute. And then I'm going to match up the seams just a little bit. And again, I'm going to try and get just a small little bit of glue. And that's another reason I hate hot glue, are those stringy pieces. Okay. Alright, and then I'm just going to double check that I like the way the dress is. I think actually I'm going to trim it a little bit because the front is lower, oops, than the back. So I'm actually going to trim this while it's on the doll. And just taking off a teeny little bit in spots. I'm trying to kind of match up the length. And then set her down and make sure it still looks okay. I think so. Now I did on the other one that I showed you guys, I did add a little bit of tulle underneath to kind of fluff her out, but I'm not doing that on this one. If you wanted to, you would just include the tulle in there when you did the running stitch, and then you'd have just 2 layers of fabric, okay, if that's something you want to do. And then it is time for the hair, and I will be honest, I don't do anything fancy with the hair because I know I'm going to cover it up with the hat. And I actually have a little idea of something different I'm going to do this time. So I'm going to turn off the video, turn off the camera, and be back in just a couple of minutes with the hair on, and I'll show you what I did. Okay guys, see you soon. Hi everybody, I am back with the button doll who has hair, and now you're gonna look at that and notice it's not absolutely perfect. I don't want it to be. Again, I want it to be a little bit rustic-y feeling, and I am going to set a hat right on top of this. So basically all I did was go through here and put in a layer of hot glue, you know, a line of hot glue, and then a layer of hair, and then a line of hot glue and a layer of hair, until I got it where I was happy with it. And you know, if there was a hole, I just put a little bit of hot glue and filled it in with hair. I also added a little piece of lace. I told you I was going to do that, and that's actually going over the little bit of the dental floss that you could see. And to do that piece, just like I did this one right here, I just took some lace that I had and basically cut it to where I have that piece, and then I just took off all of this extra part. So I had a nice little top line right here that I tied in the back under her hair and secured with a little bit of hot glue so it's not going to go anywhere. And then I have that little, you know, decorative piece on the front. And then basically the only real thing left to do is to add the hat. And so what I usually do is I just kind of fiddle around with it when I'm doing the hair and making sure that, you know, when I press that hat on with the hot glue, I'm happy with the way the hair goes. You know, and sometimes you have to kind of fiddle around with it. I don't hesitate to trim the hair a little bit if I need to, you know, that kind of thing. I want it to, you know, be cute, and I want to be happy with the way it looks. So I'm just kind of trying to make sure. That's kind of cute. It almost looks like she has a little bit of a part right there. Maybe if I do more like this. What do you think? A little too poofy. So probably something like that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go ahead and do the hat. And I put the hot glue in the hat. That just seems to make it a little bit easier. Just a little bit. I do want to make sure there's enough in here that it, you know, is secure in place. And in this one, I want it a little bit further back, I think. I tuck a little bit of that poof in there. There we go. And then I just, you know, press it down and hold on to it for a minute. Make sure that that's good and snug on her head. Doesn't feel like it's going to go anywhere. Nope. And then make sure her little lace piece is on there. And I did put a little tie in the back. That's the same fabric. I tied kind of a little ponytail in the back to hold her hair together. And once I was done with all that, I did trim it up so that it looked to be, you know, almost the same length. And there she is. Of course, I could embellish her little hat with some flowers, you know, do some stuff like that. But basically, let's see if she'll sit up for us. Oops, stuck on my finger. Here we go. And she'll sit up and she's good. So here is the first one, whose hair I just pulled. Hang on one second. She has some hot glue strings stuck on her from being too close to that hot glue gun. So there's the first one and the second one. And hopefully, I know this was a lot of steps to have in a video. Hopefully you guys got the general process. And if you're interested in making one of these yourself, you can do so. If you have any questions, you know, go ahead and leave them down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And I hope you enjoyed this little button doll tutorial. I believe it's going to be in 2 videos, so you should probably be in the second part by now. And I guess that's it, guys. Once again, any questions, leave them down below. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at. Bye, everybody.